Yes, I'm so excited to have you guys here with us today. We're going to do something a little different. We've got Angela Brown, Savvy Cleaner, and she is going to ask some questions about what it's like to be a realtor, how to become a realtor, all the ins and outs from the realtor's perspective. And hopefully, we're going to be joined by two other realtors, Erin Brown and Regina Brown. So hopefully, they're going to be jumping on here in a little bit. But for now, Angela, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, and thank you so much, Brooke. I'm super excited to be here today. Those of you that are just joining us, I'm Angela Brown. I'm the CEO of a company called Savvy Cleaner, and we train house cleaners and maids. We've been in business now for 32 years. I know, it makes me super old. And we are in 37 languages, 37 countries and 191 languages. So we are arguably one of the most popular training programs on the planet for house cleaners and maids. And we've done a lot with move in, move out cleaning. So when Erin, who's a realtor on our show, and it's looking like Erin is about ready to join us here soon, he's backstage and we'll bring him on in a second. But when he asked me to join this podcast, I got so excited because I have lots of questions about how cleaners can work with realtors. And so I'm really excited today to be, it's kind of a flip the script where I get to ask the questions of the realtors and find out as small and independent business owners how what they're doing compares with what we do as cleaning business owners in the cleaning industry. I know to be your own business owner requires a lot of gumption and a lot of dedication and a lot of self-motivation and that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about today's show. Thank you so much, Brooke, for having me here today.
So excited. And you're right. There are realtors are small business owners, and it's very similar to what you have. There's a lot of skill sets that overlap. So we can all learn a lot from each other. And they are two industries that work closely together.
So I'm curious now, how did you get started in the real estate industry? I know that realtors are not just born, like at some point they got to take classes and courses to become a realtor. How did that start out for you?
Well, before real estate, I worked for 20 years in the private country club industry, and I really loved that, but things had shifted. And my husband, his family owns a real estate company. They do land development in more rural areas, and he encouraged me to get my real estate license, and I did. But I said I don't want to wear boots and walk around fields and try and do that sort of thing. So I want to do home sales. So he encouraged me to get my real estate license and for us to explore what would be a good fit for me and for me and him to work together in the real estate in the more housing market. So yeah, I took my classes and got my real estate license, and have been in the real estate business for about 11 years now.
Now, you don't just be like, hey, husband, I would like to help you in the real estate business, right? You mentioned you had to take some classes. What kind of classes did you take?
So my path started with there's a renowned school. I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and there's a real estate school here that is just a phenomenal school. They do pre-licensing, which is the course that you take in order to get your license, and it is just a crazy amount of information that just floods your brain to get you to pass the test. And then after you get your license, that's when you really learn about the world of real estate. But it's a 75 hours of instruction. And then you take the test, and then you take that's to be able to take the test to get your license in the state that you're going to be licensed in. Charlotte's really close to the North Carolina, South Carolina border. We're close to the South Carolina border, so I'm licensed in both states. So once I passed the school exam, then I was eligible to take the North Carolina state exam and then the South Carolina state exam. And then I became licensed in both states.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like double the work.
It's not. To get to South Carolina, because we're so close, there really is. It's a pretty innocuous test. They're just it's just about the laws that are specific to South Carolina. I really like doing real estate in South Carolina. Their contracts are much shorter, and it's just a little more relaxed there. Not to say that it's less than. It's not. It's just contractually, it's a little more streamlined, I think.
Now, when you say you became a realtor, and here's the interesting thing for me, it's like saying, "Hey, I'm a cleaning business owner."
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cleaning houses is really different than being a cleaning business owner. When you start running a business, there's a whole bunch of things like taxes and insurance, and you need business supplies, and now you got to do your own marketing. And I mean, there's a whole business that goes with the cleaning. So
Right.
while there are house cleaners that are like, hey, I can clean houses, not all house cleaners can run a business. Is that
Mm-hmm.
true for real estate agents as well?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So years ago, in the early days of real estate, there weren't realtors. It was kind of the Wild West. There was no body regulating anything. You didn't have to use escrow companies or attorneys. And I can't even imagine doing business that way. And real estate agents were, in large part, thought to be, it was like an unsavory profession. It was looked at kind of like a sleazy profession, unethical, like it didn't have a lot of professionalism attached to it. And that's changed drastically over the years. So the National Association of Realtors was founded. I'm not sure when it started, but it's an organization that helps to educate realtors and holds them to a higher standard than just a real estate agent. And you can be a real estate agent without being a realtor. You can't be a realtor without having a real estate license. So not every real estate agent is a realtor. Um, but really, in order to effectively do business, I can't, again, I can't imagine doing this business. Not just, it's a different thing. Like you say, cleaning a house, you can go in and clean a house, but for a realtor, there is a code of ethics that we follow. There's a set of standards. There's good business practices that we adhere to as realtors. And it really gives a level of professionalism to our industry.
Well, speaking of level of professionalism, we just had a couple of other realtors join us, and because I'm asking the questions here, I see that they're backstage, so I'm going to bring them on. And we have with us today Aaron Brown and Regina Brown out of the San Antonio, Texas market, and they are
Hi.
on mute. I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves so that they can share with us some of the same information that you just shared with us. And hey, guys, how are you today?
Hey, good afternoon. It's really great to see you guys today.
I know you guys were on closing or something, and so we're grateful that you've joined us now. We just got started. Share with us real quick who you are and about your market, and then I'm asking questions today about how you got involved in the real estate, and I want to hear all the juice. I want to hear all the details. So, Aaron, we'll start with you.
Fantastic. Well, we're excited. I'm Aaron Brown, and I'm out of San Antonio, Texas. 14 years in real estate, and my wonderful business partner Regina Brown over here. We work together, and together we work out of the San Antonio market, both on the buy and sell side. And we're so excited to be here today.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. And Regina, share with us a little bit about you. I know you're in the luxury real estate market, which is different than Aaron in the housing market. Share with us a little bit about how that's different and how you got started in that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for asking. So I actually got pulled out of the dental field after 16 years by my wonderful business partner, Aaron, who is also my brother. So we're siblings. We love working together, and he'd worked on recruiting me for quite a while. It was a hard sell, but he had me come out and visit him, and I was able to tour with him for about 3 days. And when I was able to tour with him, what a magnificent world. And I was sold right away. So some of the things that got me into it was the freedom, running your own business, creating your own schedule, being able to choose your clientele, being able to choose your hours. There were a lot of factors that were very appealing to me after being in the medical field, the surgical dental field for many years. And then I get to work alongside this amazing guy. So I absolutely love what I do. I enjoy it so much. I enjoy it more every day. and like the best coaching and guidance that anyone could ever ask for. So that's a little bit about how I got into it.
We enjoy working together for sure.
Well, I'm super excited that you shared that with us, because my question in the back of my head is, how does somebody go from, and like Brooke coming into this because her husband inspired her, and you coming into this because Aaron inspired you. It's not easy to convince someone to share your dream. And so I want to ask the question about, Aaron, what was it like for you to go try to recruit someone else to come share your dream when this is your passion? And now you have to find someone that's equally as passionate about what you do and have them say yes, and then hope that they're as equally as passionate about what you're doing that's living your dream. How did you do that?
I've actually recruited a lot of people into real estate over the years. I really enjoy what I do. It's really, really fun. It's really rewarding. Unlike most people think, it's very time consuming. Mm-hmm. I get to work weekends, holidays, nights. Basically, when everyone else is off is when we get to work. And so
summertime vacations, it's our busiest time of year.
It's a lot of sacrifice away from family, but it is very rewarding helping other families and helping other families get that so-called American dream, home ownership, being able to level their life up or down depending on the situation. And it's always been a passion of mine. It's been so much a passion that I've spent a lot of time in the commercial space as well, on commercial developments, and it's just a vast world. And every time I get talking, I get so excited about it that no matter who I'm talking to, I'm like, oh, you should come do real estate. You should do this. And people are like, oh, that sounds crazy. And then by the end of the conversation, they're like, so what brokerage do you work with? How do we get involved? I'm like, oh, you got to go take your classes and it's going to be so fun. And they're like, classes? What are you talking about? How do we get licensed? And then there's that whole conversation. So,
well, you just brought up classes and licensing, and Brooke was talking about that for a second right before you came on. And I'm curious, is it a little bit of work, or is it a lot of work to take the classes? Is it like you take it over a weekend, or is it like it's an ongoing thing and it's a lot of money and you have to really invest, and it's like technical stuff and you got to really learn it? Like how involved is the learning curve?
What I would say is, so there's 6 main courses that need to be taken to get a real estate license in any given state. You'll have your state exams and your national exams, and you can take those as fast or as slow as you want. You can choose to take them online or in person. And if you take them in person, they're usually 8-hour-a-day classes. Each class usually lasts about a week. So you're talking about roughly a 6-week course in order to get licensed for most people. And that would help you with the state and national. And it just depends on how fast you work through it. There's a lot of technical, jargon that comes with any industry. And it's really about learning that. And then, you test out and you're licensed, and then the real world starts. The real life starts in real estate.
And if I could interject here, I'm probably the newest realtor on the podcast today. It's been almost 7 years for me, and I will absolutely testify to that. There are all of the courses you must take in order to get licensed. Has very, very, very little to do with daily application. Very little to do with it. Most of the terminology, most of what we learn to get licensed is not used on a day-to-day basis at all. So it's very, very vitally important to get connected with an amazing mentor and someone that can show you the ropes and teach you your practical application, because it's vastly, vastly, vastly different than what
I said the same thing before you guys came on. You take the test, and then you get out and you start practicing real estate, and then you learn real estate.
Yes.
And so, while I worked with my husband, he'd always done land sales and I was doing home sales. So it was totally different. So I went to work for a large firm for a few years to kind of cut my teeth and learn I worked on a team with some high producing realtors to learn the actual real world of real estate.
Yes. Yes.
So if there's a whole learning curve, just so that you can say, hey, look at me, I'm a realtor, and then like the real learning curve starts, what does that look like when you actually cut your teeth? Okay, I got my license now you're out in the real world and you're like, whoa, nothing prepared me for this. How do you navigate that? And I would like for each of you to answer that one at a time.
Well, I can jump in. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
For me, what was very, very beneficial is to shadow different people, because everyone has a very different style. Everyone has a different personality. And the disc profile, I would highly recommend right out of the gate for you to test yourself and see what your personality type is, and then learn everyone else's personality type. Because until you know your personality type, you're not going to have any idea how you communicate with people. So it's really vital to learn that right away and then shadow a handful of people. Because once you shadow each disc profile, you will learn how to get along with everyone. You will learn how to sell everyone, how to communicate with them, and the fastest, easiest way. Until you do that, I think that you'll always struggle as a realtor. I think that's probably the fastest, most efficient way to learn, would be my recommendation. Brooke?
Yeah, I agree with you about the disc. And most large brokerage firms have someone come in and provide the disc training and the test. And shadowing is so important too. I think that's a really great way to kind of learn what aspect of real estate you really enjoy. Like Regina, you do the luxury, and Aaron, you've done commercial and listing agent. And there's so many different facets and aspects of real estate. So working with someone else, shadowing them can help you learn that. In North Carolina, I'm not sure if this is true in all states. In North Carolina, you're a provisional broker for the first there's so many hours that you have to work before you're not a provisional broker anymore. And that just means that you have a broker in charge who's responsible for you during that time period. So everything you do, they're going to look over and make sure that you've crossed all your T's, dotted your I's, that you're representing your clients well. So that's, a good way to kind of a good safety net to have your broker in charge helping you along while you're a provisional broker. And I thought working on a team was so beneficial to me because I got to learn from so many others, learn their approach, and learn the different aspects of the business.
Very good points.
For me, it was getting the top salesman in our office, and I just pulled up a chair next to him every day for the first year. And I just mirrored and matched what he did. And that's how I learned. The second year in real estate, I got a job directly with the broker and just worked every day with the broker in terms of what they did, how they did it. The broker's job in the firm I was with was reviewing every contract that the brokerage did. And so I spent more than a year reviewing every contract that came in. And so that helped me tremendously learn contract negotiation, what you could and couldn't do, what was legal, what wasn't, how to best help a client. And that's really how I started my career was, those first 2 years was just with the broker and the top salesman. And that's how I learned real estate. And there was a lot of in the field shadowing as well as in the office listening. And I filled up notebooks and notebooks and notebooks on the day-to-day processes and how to run things and how to negotiate things. And it just gave me a passion for it. Working right along somebody who'd been in the industry 30 years, our broker, she was phenomenal and just a wealth of information. She was an encyclopedia. And I absorbed every bit that I possibly could from her. So,
and I have to interrupt because now I'm really curious. You said you shadowed these people in your office. Was that their idea or was that your idea?
No, actually, it was mine. When I first started, the first brokers I was with, I was trying to convince this guy. He was ex-military, retired military, rather. I was trying to convince him that I wanted to work with him and shadow him. And he was like, I don't do that. I'm running 1,000,000 miles an hour and I don't want anyone in my space. And I said, well, I'm going to come hang out with you every day and learn this business. And he said, no, that's not going to work for me. So I showed up the next day and pulled my chair up next to him and just sat down. And after the first day of this, he's like, this is a commission-based only job, et cetera. I said, you don't have to pay me anything. I mean, I sit here, I'm getting my education. I want to learn this. I want to be the best in the industry. And he kind of chuckled, and I sat there every day. And at the end of that week, he offered me a paid position. And I actually started out on salary, working directly alongside him. And our chairs were almost touching. We literally sat next to him every day for the first year.
And was he paying you out of his own commissions, or was this part of the company?
I would assume it was through the company. He put me on a simple salary with a commission pay structure, so that as I did deals, I could get paid. And ultimately, it was draw against commission, which got me really motivated to jump right into the field and start doing real estate. So,
well, I love your gumption. It takes a special kind of person to just say, I understand what you're saying, and I'm gonna do something different anyway because it will help us both. I mean, that takes a lot of guts. And so I love your tenacity on that. So yay. I do have a happy bell here. I need to ring my happy bell for your gumption. I want to ask another question, because being a realtor as well as being a cleaning business owner, there's a lot of self-motivation that's required. And I know for me, I have to be number one, Mr. Motivation at the top of every day, or Miss Motivation at the top of every day. Because when I have employees and clients and whatever show up, I have to be able to inspire them every day. How do you inspire yourself when you're on a commission job? Because I know that there are like human days when you're just like, I just don't have it to give today. How do you keep yourself motivated?
Well, there are lots of days like that. And, but I think if you're going to stay in the real estate business, you're just the kind of person who is naturally motivated, and you have to find your big why. Why are you in this business? Why are you doing this? And for me, my passion has always been to help. I have a servant's heart. I'm a mind to help and serve others. And I just think one of the best ways you can do that is to help somebody secure the American dream of owning a home, or to achieve their dream of becoming an investor and growing wealth through real estate. So my passion has been to help. And so to motivate myself, I get a lot of that from my clients, but you do have to really, it's a muscle that you have to exercise, and you do have to reach out for positive reinforcement. And for a lot, that's different for a lot of people. For some people, it's, positive affirmations. For some people, it's through networking. For some people, it's through education. But there is absolutely no shortage of that in the real estate industry. I think there's so much positive reinforcement. You hear a lot of negatives about it. I've gotten so much encouragement from other realtors, from other professionals in the industry, lenders, home inspectors. There's just so many educators. There's so much in the way of networking opportunities and opportunities for you to find that positive reinforcement and that motivation, if you're the kind of person who looks for it. And if you're not, you're probably not going to stay in the real estate industry for a long time.
That is so true.
And I love hearing that, because I think that's true for any business owner. I think they have to be willing to be self-starters. I'm curious, and this is a question that goes back to what Erin was saying a minute ago. But Erin, you said you pulled your chair up to someone else, and you tagged on their enthusiasm for a moment while you learned the ropes of the business. When you had a rough day or things got tough, did you go back to that mentor and say, hey, walk me through this, or talk me off a cliff, or whatever it is that you experience in the business? How did you then just did you just have that naturally, or did you lean on someone during that process? Because Regina said she leaned on you. And so if she's leaning on you, who did you lean on during this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's all about mentors and mentorship. And I've spent my life trying to seek out the best mentors. Fortunately for the world we live in, we can access those mentors online if we don't have one right next to us. And so there are a lot of people I listen to on a daily, weekly basis that have really helped me get over that hurdle. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I listen to people like Ed Milet and Ryan Serhant and Tom Ferry and a lot of these people that are highly motivational and inspiring when it comes to your own business. Like anyone, I wake up and have bad days, and I feel like no matter how much coffee I drink, I'm still on the wrong side of the bed. But what my mentor told me is that life is, it's kind of like you're an actor on a stage. He said, just make sure that when you're at work, you're your true and authentic self. And that true and authentic self should be happy, positive, and motivated. And if you want to act like somebody who's not, then act like that outside of work. And that was kind of a switch for me, because people often think we show up to work and have to put on a persona. His approach was just the opposite. Be authentic and real at work. Just make sure that's a happy, positive person that people would want to be around. And then if you want to have a bad attitude outside of that, that's on you. So really trying to take that approach in life and business.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to jump over to Regina, because she's one of the happiest, positive people that I know. And under all circumstances, she's always got a smile on her face and, hey, how's it going? You know, like very cheery. How do you maintain that? Because I'm sure, just being human, like you have days where you're kind of like, hey, I don't feel so great.
So today was one of those days for me, for sure.
No.
Yes. So mentors are huge. They are huge. And I always start my day as I get ready in the morning. I'm always listening to audio. I'm always pumping myself up. I'm getting in the right headspace. If you do not show up and you have not put yourself first, you need to exercise, eat well, get a good night's sleep, and listen to your motivation, whatever that is for you. Super vital for me to get my headspace right. On the days where I just feel cranky and I'm out of sorts, this guy is always phenomenal. I will call him up and I'll say, hey, I've got 75 calls to make today. I'm headed over to your office. And he's like, come on over. I'll pot of coffee and I'll show up and we'll hammer out calls together. I love being outdoors, and whenever the weather permits here in Texas, if it's not 100 degrees, yesterday it was overcast and the wind was blowing, and I put my earbuds in and I hit the Riverwalk downtown San Antonio, and I called all afternoon, and I was getting fresh air. I was by the water. I was walking and talking, and I was in such a better mood. So I think it's super important for you to know for yourself what motivates you, what gets you in the right headspace, and you have got to do that for yourself. There isn't anyone that's going to push you. There isn't anyone who's going to pull you out of that slump unless you call them and say, hey, I'm feeling discouraged today, or I don't feel well today, or whatever it is. And you've got to have somebody that will take care of that. We've worked together our entire lives. We are 13 months apart. And I will tell you, no matter how I feel, this guy always pulls me out of my slump, always. He'll crack jokes. He'll send me a quick video, whatever it is. And I'm always ready to rock and roll.
And likewise for Regina, she's always there. I will tell you though, surrounding yourself with positive people. We're in an industry where, with the way the economy is and the news, it's amazing how many people we get around that are just Debbie Downers. And we work really hard to keep those people out of our sphere for that reason. Having just a positive mindset and trying to share that enthusiasm with people, we just wouldn't have it any other way. It's so easy to get down when you're on a commission only business, and deals can go for weeks or months. I'm on a commercial deal right now, and we're on month 7 of the same deal, and it keeps getting pushed out. And, there's phone calls with attorneys every couple of days, and it's easy to get down on a situation like that, and you just have to keep smiling and look forward, and so I would definitely say sphere of influence is really paramount as well.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I know for me as a small business owner, the attitude is really important for me, because I only have so much to give. And if my job is to get up and motivate people every single day, and if I'm not feeling motivated, I need some kind of a balance to regulate that as well. And so, I hate to admit it, but in our business, I have it on the job description when I run an ad that says we are a no drama workplace. And then I reinforce it when people come in for a job interview. I say, do not bring your drama with me, because I don't have the bandwidth. I just can't deal with it. And I true confession, for a long period of time, I said, leave it outside the door and do not bring it in. I said, there are 2 flower pots outside, leave it in there. Come on in. The flowers that were there, they were these really nice sculptured trees. They died. And I said, people killed them with their negative energy. So we removed the plants. And I said, leave it in your car. Don't even bring it up the walk. Like, don't kill my property and my plants. But it's really helped us because everybody on the team knows the rules. And so even on a day, and Regina, you said you had a day like that today, and my heart goes out to you because I too had a day like that today where I'm crying on the inside right now. I lost one of my best employees of 7 years today. And so I'm just sad. I'm moving on with her life and she's just progressing. And I'm so proud of her and so happy for her. My heart is with her and I wish her the very best of luck. But I'm breaking, my heart is breaking for me. And so at the same time, equilibrium, I literally said, I cannot deal with this today. I've got really important stuff I have to do today. And I did exactly what Regina said. I went outside and I walked for a half a mile just to get the energy flowing again, get some oxygen, get some fresh air and just clear my head. And then I'm like, okay, I can go back to being myself again today. Just because you got to have coping mechanisms. And I think so many small business owners forget that. And they get involved and they're like, I've got deadlines. I can't take a quick break. And yes, you can. Sometimes that is your only salvation if you have to keep going. So thank you for sharing that with us.
That too is being a business owner and being in front of people all the time. I feel the pressure through social media or whatever it is to always be happy and perky. The issue is that's when we show up, it's a relationship business. And to do that is fake and people sense it. And so like today I left my house and I burst into tears. I just needed to cry. No,
I'm sending you a little long distance hug.
Thank you. So it was like, I mean, it's not life or death, right? But I needed to release that emotion. And so rather than getting to work and being cranky and out of sorts all day, I just burst into tears and I needed to cry for like 10 minutes on my commute. And I did. And I let that emotion flow through my body. And then
you didn't by any chance record that, did you? So that we could.
I didn't. But by the time I got to work, my shoulders were relaxed. I had worked through the emotion. I had dealt with it. And I showed up and I was in a great mood 25 minutes later when I was done crying. And so it's really important, I think, to give yourself the permission to do that because we're all human and I don't care who you are. Every one of us is dealing with family issues and life issues and relationships and all kinds of things. And we need to show up and be our authentic true self, regardless of what that is. And I think it's important also to share that with people and let them know that, hey, I'm smiling and I also cried this morning and it's okay.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That takes a lot of vulnerability. And I appreciate knowing that because there are, every small business owner is going to have, just biorhythmic up and down days. And knowing how to navigate that, especially, and I hate this, but especially when you have clients and especially when you have closings and you have to show up and you have to keep going. It is really hard sometimes to just say, what happened to my me day? You know what I mean? I need to take a day off today. So I love that you shared that with us because it sounds like you've learned to manage that in a way that's not just manageable, but really helpful and inspirational to the other people on your team.
Well, I've tried it every different sort of way. I've tried to restrain it and not let it out. And what ends up happening is your clients throughout the day, they're like, what's wrong with you? What's the matter? And when you inhale, you burst into tears. And that's just a train wreck. I mean, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
So process and work through and let yourself be human. And I think it's a lot easier to regulate your motivation if you just continue to push yourself and you don't breathe and inhale and enjoy your time. I feel like that's when it's hard for me to self-motivate.
I do know that as a small business owner, and this goes back to trying to be there and be that person for everyone. I know for me personally, when I hire people, I say you get 3 bad days a month. And that's just going to be biorhythm. It could be PMS. It could be what you call it, whatever you want to call it. Girls, guys, everybody gets 3 bad days a month. And I'm going to ask that you take the whole day. Don't be taking 10 minutes here and 2 hours here and an hour here. That will make me crazy. You want to take the whole day, give us a warning. Just give us a warning saying, I'm having sensitivities today. And then
I love
all of us will like walk on eggshells around you. We will kind of like be extra nice to you. We will keep our distance, but then at the end of the day, all of the relationships are still intact. And that way we know that somebody's having sensitivities. And if they snap out at us or whatever, it's forgiven. All is forgiven on this day because they claimed the day. And I remember in my marriage, one day my husband claimed the day and I said, oh, no, you don't. I've already claimed today. We do not get to claim the same day. Right? We need to be there for the other person. And he's like, I take dibs on today. And I was like, okay, well then, I will be on my best behavior because right now I've given it everything I have. And if you are taken today and I do not have anything to give, I better walk away and just look the other way because I too am having sensitivities today. Right?
Sure.
But just by calling it out and giving it a name has then really reduced a lot of the friction that oftentimes then builds up with tension and backstabbing and like little chit chat conversations behind people's backs. And especially as your team grows.
Absolutely.
Brooke, how do you deal with a bad day? How's that like for you?
I have always found that the best way for me to feel better is to help somebody else. It gets my mind off of me and what I'm dealing with. So I try to, and what's good for me is that my husband and I work together. And so I can go to him, lean on him and say, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. Can you help me through this? Can you give me some advice? He is so great and patient and kind that he does that. But again, for me to help somebody else, whether it's at work or I do a lot of volunteer work too, that helps put me in a good space mentally. And I think like you guys too, we live in North Carolina where we have so many beautiful days, and it is good to just get out, clear your mind, do something good for your mind and your body. That is as important as any other thing that we do in business, is to give yourself that time to get back into a good place, get to a point where you're going to be making good decisions. You're not going to be reacting out of anger or frustration. You're centered and you're calm. So I think those are beneficial ways for me to cope with it.
That's an awesome answer. So my question is, I know that working off of commission, it's really easy to get in either a scarcity mindset saying, oh my goodness, this deal must go through in order for me to pay my bills this week or this month. And it would be easy to not be able to manage the ups and downs of the finances. I know my husband is in a commission job. And so if that's the case, and I know many people are in commission sales, how do you manage that and just make it kind of an equilibrium for your life so that you can stay on track with everything that you're doing?
Live under means and budget.
Yes. Those are great points.
Those are my 2 cents. Peace out.
So do you read books on that, or do you focus on
Books,
like Dave
podcasts,
Ramsey stuff, or like what's
absolutely.
the process for a realtor just getting involved in the business that is like, hey, I don't know how to do that, and maybe they're a realtor that doesn't have someone to shadow in their market that they either know, like, or trust?
Dave Ramsey absolutely has the best courses that I would recommend for
Okay.
sure. Absolutely. But you must live under your means and you must learn to budget. Otherwise, your life will be hellacious and terrifying always. So if you're living under means and you budget, then you'll just stay very even keel is the goal, is my goal in real estate. Historically, about 80% of real estate is sold during the summer months.
Mm.
So you'll make a lot of money and you'll be very poor the rest of the year, historically speaking. We operate very differently than that. When most people slack off the rest of the year, that's usually when we have a very consistent real estate business. But historically, for most realtors, that's the way it goes. And so a lot of realtors end up getting jobs the last half of the year to supplement their income. And so it's our full-time job and it's what we do all of the time. So really Go ahead.
I appreciate you bringing that up and being candid with us, because I know in the house cleaning business, that's also true. As you approach the holiday months, there are a lot of people that are like, oh, the holidays are here. I'm going to spend my money instead of on house cleaning on gifts. And then after the holidays, they've maxed out the credit cards and they're like, oh, I'm going to spend the money on the bills. And so for like November, December, January, February, they like cancel the house cleaning. And there are a lot of house cleaners that are like, oh my goodness, where's my money coming from? And so we actually train them starting back in September, October to sell all of the deep cleaning and the spring cleaning throughout the months of January, February, and March, where we clean out garages and attics and do all of the large appliances and stuff like that. But we bill them back in September and October before they move into those winter months, because come December, January, February, there's no money. There's just no money. And that way you still have the money coming in that you can then budget for, because if somebody's already paid for it, it's less likely they're going to cancel it, right? Oh, I've already paid for it. I paid for it way last year. Sure, go ahead and come on over and, defrost my freezer and clean out my oven and all that stuff, right?
Nice. Very
Yeah.
So,
and I'll say that a lot of the big real estate firms do provide training, business budgeting training, business management, creating your business, filling your pipeline. What you do today is going to pay off 90 days from today. And if your firm doesn't offer that, just know if you're going into real estate, you do need to take it seriously and treat it like a business, and find those resources on your own. How to create a budget, what you can expect your income to look like, and how to prepare for that. So if your firm doesn't offer it, then there are lots of other resources that will teach you how to manage your finances from a business aspect, a small business owner aspect.
now I know that all of you, I believe, are all members of the National Association of Realtors. Like, how influential is that to join an association and to be part of something like that as a realtor, versus just being somebody that lists properties and you kind of hope that you're going to sell a property here or there, or a do-it-yourselfer that has sold a couple properties of their own and they're not licensed or anything. I mean, they're not a realtor.
The National Association, it encompasses a lot of industries, such as appraisers and engineers and those kinds of things. It gives a vast kind of database on what's going on nationally. And it gives us a really fun resource as realtors to understand what's going on in other markets and submarkets, especially where we have people moving from different geographic locations in mass. Like, we've got a lot of people from California moving to Texas right now. We've got a lot of bigger industries like Tesla who came here. And so with that, thousands of people are moving to Texas. And so it gives us insight into their market. A lot of those people are selling their homes and moving here. And so it gives us insight into how fast those markets are moving, what big brokerage firms are moving, what's going on in the commercial space. Commercial is followed very closely through the National Association. And so new developments, new things coming up, it plays a big role in what we do on a day-to-day basis. And also it lets us network across the United States. And so when we have clients moving from one location to another, we have this vast network that we can plug into and really get the top realtors in that area for that person. Somebody's moving out of San Antonio, say to Vermont. We can get them with the best realtor in Vermont. And so it's an amazing network for us as realtors. And like I say, even when it comes to engineers and architects and other people that are in the field, we can kind of get an insight into their world and what's going on, in that realm. And so it's an amazing organization to be a part of. Highly recommend it if you're a realtor to be involved. There are annual fees and annual dues. And then, of course, conferences all over happening every quarter. And so it's fun to go to those conferences and plug in and meet people in the industry from all over. You meet people like Tom Ferry and these people that are really influential in the space.
And that was my next question. How important was that? And you just said that it was really important because it gave a wider scope to your vision of the industry that you're in, and it keeps you well connected and cohesive with changing laws and updates and all that kind of stuff. So that was a great answer. So my question is, beyond the association, what other ongoing education is required to be at the top of your game in the real estate industry? Do you take the initiative to continue just reading self-help books on your own, or are there courses that you just sign up for on a regular basis that come back over again and again, or how does that work?
There are
Both.
required CE credits that all of us must take every year.
Hmm.
So, and obviously, when you're a market expert, you're always reading up-to-date data. You're always reading articles. You're online every morning reading updates, getting market updates. And then absolutely, we're required every single year to go in and take courses. It's like a lot like the medical field in that way. If you want to keep your license active, there's a lot of dues that are due. and so, yeah, lots of classes.
Yeah, in North Carolina, we have 4 hours of a mandatory update and 4 hours of an elective. And then every 3 years, we are required to update the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. And 8 hours is just not, in my opinion, a lot of education. And it's somewhat like Regina was saying with the real estate exam. It's not necessarily what you're experiencing out in the field. So there are other resources that you can get. There's a newsletter I get, and it's great insight into what's going on with nationally, with new construction, with commercial real estate space, with the areas of the country that people are moving to, they're moving away from. Then the National Association of Realtors, or the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, sends out a newsletter every month. That's a great resource for me to learn what's going on locally. And there's just so much information out there that you can find. And I just think it's crucial, if you're going to survive in real estate, to educate yourself, try and find information that's specific to the type of real estate that you practice, and as Aaron and Regina said, become market experts. And that's an initiative that you very often have to take on your own.
If I can also jump in and say too, my experience has been, and I learned this from the broker I worked with, is to get really micro as well. We like to know what's going on nationally and what's going on with interest rates and the banks and all this kind of thing, economics, and it's exciting for us. But at the end of the day, you've got somebody moving into town, and they want to know, where best would I fit in? These are my religious beliefs. This is where my family, this is my family situation. This is my work, my commute. Like, help me find a great spot. And as realtors, we can't steer people into any given area. We're very, very clear about that. But knowing your submarkets really well. And so, like here in San Antonio, we have a lot of submarkets, like any city, suburbs and different places. And so what we have done, Regina and I, is we'll take a submarket and we'll do a full report on each submarket from both the residential and commercial perspective. We'll include schools, walking distance to places, things that are attractive to that area. What are the closest attractions to that area? What makes that neighborhood great? We'll do neighborhood reports specific to the psychographics and demographics of that neighborhood. What's the age bracket? How many grade schools? How many, middle schools? All those kinds of things. And when people are like, hey, this is my lifestyle, we're like, hey, here's 6 options that kind of sound like would be great for you. Why don't we go explore all 6? And then you can choose one that works best for you. And it's been phenomenal over the years doing those submarket reports. Some of them will be 20, 30 pages or more, where we just get really in-depth insight on our own, going around and really exploring that area. What's happening, what's up and coming, why this area. And it gives us a really different perspective on those submarkets, and also makes us really excited when we go into them to look at property, because we've got a really deep breadth of information on that area. And it really help people find the right spot. So I would say as a market expert, get really micro as well.
Well, and I heard Brooke say that earlier, where she said she does a lot of volunteering in the community and she belongs to community clubs and groups and stuff like that. And I can only imagine the more involved you are in the community, the more, you've got friends and network groups and stuff that you can connect people to, that then not only make them feel like you know the area, but then also are a part of it as well. Brooke, share a little bit with us about that. I know that there was even a consignment store that you were a part of here in town, where you were able to volunteer some time and get people involved in that as a community networking program as well.
Yeah, it's actually not a consignment store. It's we accept donations and then sell them as a thrift store, and all of the funds from that stay within a 5 zip code area, and it helps families or individuals who are experiencing short-term financial crisis. And so that could be people who are not housing secure, not food secure. And I've had the opportunity with that organization for the past 3 years. They reach out for housing grants and need a realtor to write a letter on their behalf. And I've partnered with them to help secure grants to help those who are housing insecure. And we've worked with the local Charlotte has a dire issue with affordable housing. And so these volunteer organizations are paramount to help those people who are struggling with housing issues. And so it's been an honor to work with them on that and to see the experience I've had to help an organization to help other folks. So, and it's a great networking opportunity too, where I can meet so many civic leaders. Our small, and this is a small town outside of Charlotte, one of the suburbs of Charlotte. And so I've worked and developed relationships with a lot of people on the Chamber of Commerce and with the police force, and establish those relationships to really get my hands in and involved in the community. And like Aaron said, it is so important for us to be able to help our clients. And when we know our communities, the better equipped we are to help them.
Absolutely. I love that answer. I mean, I just love hearing how you guys have reached out in so many different types of ways and helped. Aaron said something earlier that really caught my attention, and it was when Regina was making the funny and offhanded comment like, hey, we get to spend our summer vacations, doing real estate. And he said, yes, we get to do this throughout the entire year from sunup till sundown. Instead of saying, I have to, he said, I get to. And I'm really encouraged by the power talking verbs he's used just in our regular conversation here about, instead of making it sound like, oh, it's a burden and I have to do this and whatever, it's just kind of reframing it in terms of, I get to do this as almost as a service, like what Brooke was saying, almost as a service to help my clients and what have you. And that leads me to the question of, is there a book? Now, I know for me, and what caught my attention was the words he used, because for me, that book was Power Talking. And I read it by George Walther, I'm going to say 25, maybe 30 years ago. And it's all about reframing the verbs that we use and the words so that it is more empowering to the people that we're speaking with. Instead of saying, I'd like to tell you something, but, and you remove the word but and you use the word and instead. I'd like to tell you something, and here's how it's going to impact what we're about to do next. So that people are not like, oh no, here comes the but, like, what is a book? And I want to hear this from each of you. What is one book that has really empowered you through your career, that is either a book that you've given as a gift to someone else, or it's a book that you use as a reference book that you've gone back to again and again and again as kind of your, this is like, I'm in alignment with this book. What is that for each of you? Because I'm super curious. And I know for me, it was Power Talking.
Well, I can start. And it's a book that you mentioned, Regina. It's the Dave Ramsey book. And I've given that to my son as a gift for Christmas. He's a young adult. I've given it to clients. I love to work with first-time home buyers, and I've given it to them. And you all may be able to agree with this. In real estate, it can be so super competitive. And you hold yourself up to the biggest producers in the area, and you're like, wow, what, and sometimes you could just feel like you're falling short or you're not enough. And to fill your mind with those influences that I don't have to have this kind of life in order to feel fulfilled and successful. And so Dave Ramsey has kind of taught me that: live below your means. Don't value yourself based on the possessions that you have. And so that one's always stuck with me, and I do give that one as a gift. So that's mine.
I love that. That's awesome.
For me, the book's a little bit bigger, but it's Stephen Covey's The Speed of Trust. And I love, love, love that book. It's so empowering to me. And really, it's all about being your authentic self. You don't need to make things bigger than they are. And you don't need to say things that are not positive or tear people down. And that's really kind of the crux of the book is be your authentic self, but as so, be as positive as possible. And then Brandon Burchard, he's been really influential in my life. I have his books on my desk and I refer to them on a daily basis. They're just so, it's really the power of positive thinking. And it's how do you reframe things in your life to look at it from a way of how do I learn from this in a positive way. And it kind of goes back to the concept of rock climbing, where they look at it as they have a term called failure, and it's where you climb as high as you can, and then you try to get that last peg in where nobody else has gone, and usually you'll fall, but you've gone just one step higher, you've gone a few feet higher than the last person, and you leave a peg there for the next person to come along and hook onto, and they can go one step higher. And so even if you fail doing that, you're still leaving the footprint of somebody else to come grab on and go a little bit further. So next time you can go higher. Wow. And I love that approach in business and life is basically what can you leave a positive touch on if you're going to interact with it, whether that's a conversation or a meeting or a client, or how can you leave that interaction with just a little more positivity than the way you found it. And hopefully the next person coming along will be able to go further than you did, and it will be a more positive impact on the world. So those are the two books that I love, love, love. Brandon Burchard's books and The Speed of Trust.
I hope that you will leave links in the show notes when this is over so that we can check out those books, because I don't know the names of that, but I would love to have a copy of both of those. And I'm making some notes here. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The power of positive thinking, rather than a specific book, every single day, that's part of my morning routine, is finding something to listen to in that realm. It's so vital and important to me. And so that's a morning Google for me, through all of the different platforms for listening to audio. And while I'm driving in the car, I'm always looking and listening to something along those lines, and focusing on what we can control, rather than having to do anything. We get to do it. It's a choice. As small business owners, we aren't choosing to live this life. Mm-hmm. So we don't often get to say we have to do it.
Well, and I love that you shared that with us, because even in the house cleaning industry, I remember that every single interaction I have with any employees or any contractors that we work with, I have to remind them, I'm not holding you hostage here. At any moment, you're free to go. If you stop liking this, you get to go. You're not, you don't have to stay. I'm not going to chase you down and stalk you and make you come back. If you decide to go, go. And I'll be sad if you do, but you got to do what you got to do. And it's really reframed it for me, because I do realize that my interaction with everybody that I'm working with is a blessing. It's a gift. And so, like you said, Regina, with being positive and keeping that at the front of my mind, it is a gift. That's why they call today the present. We don't have yesterday. We don't have tomorrow. We just have the present, and it is a gift. So I'm so excited that we had this conversation today. I'm going to run around the room real quick and let you guys share one last closing thought with us. And thanks so much for having me on today's show. I've really enjoyed this, and I'll turn it back to you, Brooke.
Well, thank you. This has been really fun and really uplifting, and I've learned so much from listening to you all. So thanks for sharing. And I would just say, if you're thinking about a career in real estate, it is so rewarding. There are lots of resources out there, and just put yourself in a position with people who are going to help you grow and learn. And if anybody is in need of real estate assistance in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, you can find me. My social media handles, Ask Brooke Bryant, and would love to help you out with any of your real estate needs.
Thank you so much. I would definitely say celebrate the little things along the way. We tend to overlook that in life, I think, for the most part. Celebrate the little things, especially if you're self-employed. If you get out of bed and make your bed, like Happy Bell, I learned this from Anthony. Celebrate it, because what happens is right from the get-go, you're like, hey, I accomplished something today, even if it was just making your bed. I don't like to drink water in the morning. I like to guzzle coffee. And so I consciously have made the effort to get up and drink water. And then I'm like, yay, Happy Bell. I drank a cup of water before my coffee pot this morning. And so I would say celebrate the little things along the way. It makes life so much more enjoyable. So whatever that is, celebrate the little things. And you can find me online at Ask Aaron Brown. That's my social media handle. And I love being here. I'm part of this. So thank you guys all so much.
I love that. For me, especially being a small business owner, I would say absolutely maintain control of your mindset always. No one's going to do it for you. And it affects every aspect of your entire day and everyone else that you come in contact with. So whatever it takes in order to keep yourself where you need to be, make it a priority for sure. And you can find me at Regina B Realty on every platform.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And Angela, do you have closing thoughts for us, Angela?
Yes, I do. I've always said in the cleaning business, thanks I said my closing thoughts, but here again, I've always said, leave the world a cleaner place. And today I learned to leave the world a more positive space. And so I would like to now add and amend my tagline, which is leave the world a cleaner place to a happier and more positive place than when you found it.
I love that.
And I'm on all the social medias as well at Ask Angela Brown. So come find us and we will see you again. I'm hoping same time, same place next week. I'm hoping they invite me back. And if that's true, I will see you again next time.
Absolutely.
You're invited. We'll see you for sure.